Theory time! Digital Extremes is probably cooking up the best recipe for origin story cake. Topped with, oh my god, really? I know I've got something a little crazy lined up, but let's crack this one together. You're tuned into With every Warframe update comes more content, a billion hotfixes, more space children traumatized, and especially more lore. Which is why we are here today. We are looking at that. And today's theory is... Wow! But like, Hun Daddy is 10 times bigger. How does that make sense? Whoa, 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 Discord moderator, just chill, okay? Let me explain. I can just tell you how. Anyway. Ow, ow. Ow. I should have moved that. Anyway. Yes, Hun Hao could be relatively big. I should know. I did build him in my dojo after about 200 plus hours playing New War just specifically for the Hun Hao scene. Just to build this. We can see here in the gameplay, we've got this new sentient ally called Adis. Obviously, they are no size comparable to Hun Hao, because Hun Hao is like huge, massive. And Adis is just like, you know, just as small as an operator. But here's the thing, hear me out. This absolute unit is called the Hun Hollis. And don't get me wrong, no, I'm not saying that is what Hun Hao originated from. No. What I am saying though is that, for example, we've got the Hun Hollis, and then we've got Hun Hao. So how are we getting from Hun Hollis to Adis to Hun Hao? Maybe Hun in the sentient language has its own definition, its own meaning. So when I look at the Hun Hollis, I think of it as weapon, and then we look at Hun Hao, father of all sentience. So, therefore, Hollis could be weapon, Hao could be father, but then we've got Hun, which is in both names. So, something strikes me like cold for Hun. So, potentially for the Hun Hollis, we've got cold weapon, and then we've got Hun Hao, cold father. It's just an idea of what it could mean, but not what it exactly is. But Hun seems to be in the play for both of those names. But where does Hun Hao fit into any of this? I hear you say. Before we get into that part, I do want to address this bit of trivia right here. So during Octavia's anthem, Hun Hao makes a reference to the Naga drums, first referenced by the Stalker in his codex entry. These ceremonial Tenno drums were played during the victory celebrations. Apparently they, along with Octavia's music, could cross the gap, presumably meaning the interstellar space between Tau and the Origin system, and had a hand in defeating these sentients during the Old War. Hun Hao speaks of them coordinating the slaughter of the Arkin across the gap, which refers to the moment following the end of the war, when the Tenno betrayed the Arkin by slaughtering them all. It is unknown if Hun Hao is simply referencing the event, implying that the sentients somehow had a part in the Tenno turning on their masters, which is exactly what is possibly to come following the old peace. If Hun Hao was a part of the old war, obviously in the gameplay we could only see so much of it, but it would be very hard to miss someone that big of a scale. Except he was there, but not as Hun Hao and not the Hun Hao that we know. Hun Hao was there as Adis. And this could be the very moment that bred his hatred to the Tenno that would last for so long. And cause all the wars and all the battles that have happened ever since. This could be the very moment that Hun Hao was born. As a wildcard theory, I gotta say this one does make sense to me. Only reason being is Adis was present in the time that the peace treaty was obviously broken. They was the first to experience it. Now, imagine Adis goes back to the Arkan Government to report that there's no longer a peace treaty between the Sentients and the Arkan. Not gonna end well. So they'd feel like they're doubted that they're making this up. Maybe they get blamed for that too. But also they've got to bear in mind that the Tenno literally just slaughtered, instead of freeing one of their own species, one of their own sentients. So this is the point where Adis gets more defensive, not just against the Tenno, but against the people that they was in a partnership with. Basically, they was at peace with. They forged an alliance. They had this whole thing going for them. They had the Arkan, they had the Tenno, they had the Grineer, and now that's all broken. Obviously, we've not seen yet what's coming of the Grineer, but we have seen the peace treaty break between the Arkan and the Sentients, which could be where the Sentient faction starts to rebel against the Arkan and starts to slaughter them. As for anything further from that, I'm not exactly sure, but this is where Adis is gone. Hun Hao is born. Hun Hao starts from this very moment from Adis. But as for the bodily transformation, I'm not exactly sure how to explain that one. Maybe it's some sort of sentient mimic power stuff going on there. Eventually, Adis just creates a whole new body of themselves, just somehow gets large as a planet. But I don't really have much of a theory on the bodily transformation part. So I'd love to see what you guys have as a theory for this part specifically. But yeah, I feel like this is the moment where Hun Hao is born, just towards the end of this peace treaty, because Hun Hao was the first to watch it break. What do you think, guys? Again, this is just a theory because we've not got the update just yet. I would love to see if I'm right or if I'm wrong. Till then, chill around, guys. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, everybody. You're watching